Am I the idiot for choosing a holiday over my niece? I, female 27, have been planning a long trip abroad for some time now. I worked remote so it's easy to pick up and go, and this is my first time doing it. I was laid off recently, but since I have a lot of money saved and the trip has already been paid for, I've decided to go for a sabbatical. For months, I have had to convince my parents, grandparents, and siblings that I am going to safe places, that I have enough money, and that they don't need to worry. I finally had them in a good spot. I leave in about 2 weeks. Recently though, things have changed. I normally end up taking care of my niece, female 2, for my sister, female 32, at least once a week. My sister goes to work 3 days a week and works 2 days from home, and her husband, male 39, works from home but has to stay near his computer at all times since he works in customer service. On the weekends, they enjoy going out to things like hockey games, dinner, etc. I normally take care of my niece during those times. It tends to work out because they will go out on Sunday, so I will have my Friday and Saturday nights. But with this trip, of course, I will not be able to babysit. My sister was joking about this one day, and recently my parents have been asking a lot about my trip and what about my niece. I was confused and asked them to elaborate. Apparently, 2 years old is an important time in a child's life, and they said that she wouldn't remember me when I got home. They want me to shorten my non-refundable trip and come home earlier so I don't miss out on any milestones. I told them that I couldn't, and that was final. Now they have been amping up the guilt. They have also gotten my grandparents involved. The only support I have is my brother, male 30, who also never sees my niece except for special occasions. They are also bringing up my recent layoff and my financial state. I don't want to brag, but for a 27-year-old, I have a high enough savings account that I could live for a year and never work. I've been laid off a lot, so savings was a priority. I could still travel and do everything I want. I have no loans, no current apartment now, and have all the big things paid for. But despite knowing I am fine, they are starting to scare me and guilt trip me into staying. Tonight it all blew over. My sister called me in a hole in front of my family since I won't be able to babysit. What is she supposed to do on the weekends? I yelled at her and told her to finally hire a babysitter. My parents are on her side and told me that you should help out more. I yelled at all of them that it was not my responsibility to parent the child. They could live for a few weeks without their free babysitter. I then left. My brother texted me later that they are still angry and disagreed with my choice to continue my trip. Am I the idiot for choosing my trip over my niece? Edit. A lot of people have asked. I will be gone for just under 4 months. I will be traveling around Europe with a short trip to visit a friend in South Korea and coming home. I suppose that would be more than just a few weeks, lol. But not the point. Update. I wanted to answer a few questions. 1. Yes, I have a year's worth of savings. This means that I can pay for rent and other expenses for up to 1 year without a job. 2. I plan on continuing to look for a new position and take interviews when I can. I hope that I can get a new one because in my state I am unable to get a new apartment without proof of income at my age. 3. I only moved back in with my parents temporarily. It's been a month. I wanted to save money and not have an apartment. They are also storing all of my stuff. They are normally okay parents, but they play favorites. 4. I will not go no contact with my family, but maybe low contact. They are important to me. But I will take your advice to stop babysitting every Sunday for my niece. It's obviously been a bad habit for my sister and brother-in-law. On to the update. Today was my niece's birthday. It was a small get-together of my family and some friends, and it was a really good time. After the party, my sister pulled me aside. She apologized for getting my mom up in arms about the babysitting. She knew I wanted to go on the trip. We hugged and I accepted her apology. For your information, my mom and I don't really get along. I don't like how she treats people, and her favoritism has always caused some insecurity. Though she has helped me a lot and I am grateful to her, I will always be the bratty, youngest daughter, and I've come to accept that. Unfortunately, because of her, I have this people-pleasing behavior that I am trying to break out of. Hence the pure turmoil between choosing my trip over my niece. My mom is very controlling. The only reason I am still in contact is because of my dad. He's my best friend. I would hate to leave him behind. He understands my problems with my mom. He hasn't tried to fix much. He doesn't know how, but he listens and takes my feelings into account. It means the world to me. When my mom heard my sister complain, she decided it was going to be a good way to keep me home. She told the family about how a little girl shouldn't be traveling alone. She's mentioned the Natalie Holloway case, and that set a lot of people off. She watches a lot of Lifetime and Dateline. It's why everyone started hounding me in the first place. Then she added on my lack of a job and my other responsibilities, babysitting, so that everyone would agree that I shouldn't go. Now the big update is that I did choose my trip. In fact, I'm planning to extend. Maybe I'll travel more around Asia or go to Australia since I will be over there. TBD. But I wanted to thank everyone for the advice and the good wishes. You all have made me feel so much more confident about this trip. Thanks again, not the idiot. I'm so glad you went and that you are enjoying yourself. Their reasons for stopping you are dumb. A weekly day from child rearing is more than what most people get. Your sister was out of line, especially since your parents or others could help. Happy she apologized and realized how ridiculous she was being. Is she selfish to abandon her niece? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for scaring my wife into being responsible? My wife, female 30, and I, male 35, bought our house 5 years ago and it needs work, but time and money are always a constraint. Right now, my wife is not working while she goes back to school and I'm working second shift as the sole earner. Since my wife is home more than me, she has been handling most of the work that's been done around the house, including dealing with contractors. She comes from a family of DIers who tend to shoot from the hip with projects, while I prefer to have a plan in place before we do any work. And the most recent projects that she's spearheaded have been, in my opinion, subpar. Some examples: our privacy fence gate doesn't close right and she hasn't gotten the contractor to come to fix it for months. The internet line wasn't buried deeply enough by the contractors, and I think she should have sent them away when they didn't have the right equipment. She decided, without my input, to use a cleanser on our house before retaining it, and the cleaner left streaks in the wood that cannot be covered by the stain. We have a wooden sculpture in our yard that she did not clean and it is dark and dirty and looks like poop. She doesn't see anything wrong with it. Most recently we had gutter work done, and I wanted a gutter put on the back of our new shed. She forgot to tell the contractor where I wanted the downspout and he put it in the opposite corner, so now the water is just going to collect behind the shed, which is exactly what I wanted to avoid. She called me at work to give me this news and I spent the rest of the day frustrated. When I got home, I asked what we were going to do about this and she said something about fixing it ourselves. I told her that it would never be right if we fixed it ourselves, that I already paid for the work to be done right the first time and we're just pissing away money and time with needing to redo all these projects that she's been half-assing. I asked if she even cared about the quality of work that is being done on the house and said that maybe she shouldn't be involved with any more projects on the house unless communication improves. She just sat in silence and slept on the couch without speaking to me. This morning, I asked if she was going to talk to me and she said I don't know. I was exasperated and asked if she could just tell me what was wrong and she replied, I'm scared of you. She told me she wished I had approached the issue by looking for a solution and I told her that she just doesn't want to be accountable for her actions. She said she just wants us to be partners. I could be the idiot for how I went about telling her about my feelings, but I feel like there's no way for me to give her negative feedback without her freaking out. Am I the idiot for telling my wife that she needs to be accountable for her actions? Update. I posted about 5 months ago about an argument my wife and I had, and I was determined to be the idiot. Original post here. Recently someone commented on that post asking if my wife has left me yet, so I decided to update. A lot of people recognized that the way I spoke with my wife was full of frustration and anger, which was unproductive, but even more than that, it was scary to my wife. Will Ash had an excellent comment pointing out that I was just blowing off steam and that my priority should be my partnership. We covered a lot of topics in the weeks following that incident. We had a couples therapy session to talk about strategies and communication. I saw one of my coworkers react in anger and frustration instead of taking the time to become calm, and realized from the outside looking in just how unproductive his behavior was. And then my wife showed me a section of one of our self-help books. It's called The 5 Personality Patterns and my therapist had recommended it to me a while back. We had been reading it together, my wife and I, but then we got busy and we stopped. She picked it back up after our fight and read about the leaving pattern. She underlined a bunch of sections and read them to me, and I finally understood. I grew up in a house where my parents screamed and yelled at each other or picked fights in order to storm out of the house, and that's how I used to interpret my wife's silence, as a way to win the fight. In reality, when she became silent, she was terrified. She wasn't stonewalling me, or trying to win the fight by manipulating me, or trying to avoid taking responsibility. She was so scared at that moment that she wasn't even in her body. She couldn't even speak, she was totally dissociated. She told me that even though she knows that how I was acting wasn't objectively scary, that her threshold for shutting down is really low. Realizing how much I scared my wife broke my heart. The descriptions of dissociation in the book were terrifying to me. My wife is the sweetest person. I love her so much and I never want her to experience what she experienced that day ever again. It changed my perspective completely. Ever since my realization, our relationship is better than ever. We laugh and tease each other playfully. We have worked on projects together. We've talked about chores and money. We've even had a couple of fights and resolved them quickly and lovingly. Our communication is better because we trust each other. My wife told me that she has never felt safer or more loved now. I won't say I'm glad the fight happened, but what I realized because of it has been a turning point in our marriage for the better. Not the idiot. I guess I'm the only person who didn't think Opus was the idiot before. It's frustrating to work on a large project with someone who doesn't actually care about the finished result as long as it's done. How many unfinished projects is Opus supposed to look at every day before blowing up after multiple attempts of going behind her to finish her starts? Would you have stuck around after your partner scared you? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot calling my girlfriend selfish for refusing to learn sign language for my daughter? My daughter Ruby was born mute. She can understand words, but we use sign language to communicate. While she can use her phone or write, obviously she prefers to sign. The issue is my girlfriend, Amanda. We've been dating for around 9 months and introduced our children around 3 months ago. They don't know sign language, so communication with Ruby was awkward at first. She hates having to write or use her phone at home. So I taught Amanda some basic signs beforehand, and I've continued teaching her and Mia more in this time. Mia is getting a lot better actually, but Amanda has apparently decided it's too hard and refuses to learn anymore. She says that it's unnecessary since Ruby can understand her and communicate in other ways. While Ruby is usually willing to do that for them, she doesn't enjoy it and finds it frustrating. I told Amanda she's being selfish and lazy, that it's not fair to put all the effort on Ruby. It's one thing if she doesn't get it after years, but it's only been a few months. It's just ridiculous. We got into a fight over it and she basically called me an idiot and said it's not her fault she struggles with it. But that doesn't mean just give up. If she wants to be in our life, it's the bare minimum effort to put in. I clearly think she's just being selfish, while she thinks I'm an idiot and unfair. I vented to my brother and he agreed with Amanda, that I can't force her to learn and not everyone is good with language, and that Ruby doesn't need it and I'm coddling her. I'm honestly still pissed off, but I do love Amanda. She's normally thoughtful and kind, and I guess it's possible it's just me being overprotective of Ruby. I think it's a reasonable expectation, but I'm starting to doubt myself. Update. First, I do want to clear up some stuff. I'm not sure why so many people act like I sprung it on Amanda. I never said I did, and I certainly didn't. I told her upfront about Ruby and was clear that I expected a partner to be willing to put in the effort for her sake. Also, I never criticized Amanda for not being fluent. I had no expectation it would be easy or quick. Hell, I struggled at first. I've never insulted her or had issues with her progress. My only issue was that she refused to try anymore. While my words were immature, it was only after she basically said it wasn't worth learning sign language that I got upset and said it. I find the idea that it's too soon honestly strange. Wouldn't it be worse for us to be engaged or married before I know if she's willing to put in the effort for my daughter? I don't expect perfection, just for her to try. I understand that Ruby needs to be able to communicate in other ways. She has to go to school, but that doesn't mean she should be forced to stay at home. Besides all this, I did consider our relationship serious. I love Amanda. With that aside, I think it's mostly been resolved. Amanda came over and apologized for how she acted. She explained that she had been trying to hide how much she was struggling, and got frustrated seeing how quickly Mia was getting it while she understood nothing. Basically, Amanda was seeing how quickly and effortlessly I was getting close to Mia, and was feeling like she was useless with her lack of progress, especially knowing how important it was to me. We had a long talk about it. I apologized for my immature reaction and explained that it was always non-negotiable for me, and I brought up that if it would make her miserable and resentful, it may be better to separate. Amanda did not like that, and we talked about our relationship and expectations. I considered it serious the moment she met Ruby. While Amanda didn't see it quite the same way, she knew she wanted me in her life and understood that meant she had to try with Ruby. Amanda has decided to find her own professional teaching. She thinks it will be better for her frustration to show there than with Ruby or I. I'll keep teaching Mia because she really enjoys it. It doesn't matter whether she is fluent, as long as she's trying. I know Ruby will appreciate the effort. For now, Ruby will still have to use other methods to communicate. She was anyway, but hopefully one day she won't have to. Unfortunately, my brother stands by what he says. He said that even though Amanda has given in, it was still unfair of me. That I'm lucky Amanda is willing to put up with it. I've honestly lost a lot of respect for him with all this. I don't understand how he can think that about Ruby, and I still. Overall, I'd say it's gone well. Thanks for the advice, whichever way you lent. I think we'll be able to get through it. You're the idiot. Wait, you were the one teaching Mia and Amanda. Then you didn't think that you already knew sign language, and her having difficulty learning as quickly as either you or Mia would have been a challenging and isolating experience for Amanda. Ruby deserves compassion. So does Amanda. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to try mightily, be left behind, and then, instead of having your efforts acknowledged and receiving support and encouragement, to be berated? Everyone sucks here. See, this is what we were talking about with the too soon comments. You're not even on the same page. You're serious, and she isn't that deep yet. But she's meeting your children. Where was the communication, and why did it happen after the kids got involved? I would never meet the kids with someone I wasn't serious about.